Welcome everybody to episode number 7 of Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris, right here on Greenlight Channel 2 and on WIG TV Channel 19. I'm Jake Donnelly. Thank you as always for tuning in. A little bit of a rough go for the Tobs, as they have now lost back-to-back games for the first time this season. 2 nights ago against the Asheboro Copperheads, the Tobs had a 4-1 lead entering the top of the 9th inning. However, in the top of the 9th inning, the rain started to come down, but so did the Tobs bullpen. Ryan Mintier was called upon to close out the game, and he had a little bit of a rough go. He was able to get 1 out with guys on first and second with the game at 4-2, allowing 1 run. A 2-2 fastball, which appeared to be over the inside corner, was called a ball, and then things really started to unravel. It was 4-3 by the time head coach Justin Hay called on Braden Bristow to try to calm things down for the Tobs. However, he threw 1 pitch, and it was 5-4, Copperhead scoring 4 runs. Another run would come in on a double down the left field line. That made it 6-4, and that run was pivotal because the Tobs threatened in the bottom of the 9th inning. They had a run across in a 6-5 ball game. Taylor Nichols, who was very hot over the last couple of games, was at the plate in a 3-2 pitch, which may or may not have been about 6 inches off of the outside corner, was called strike 3, and the Tobs took a heartbreaking defeat, losing to the Asheboro Copperheads 6-5, and the only time the Tobs and Copperheads will be playing this season. Things didn't get any better down in the swamp for the Tobs as they went to Fayetteville to take on the Swamp Dogs. The Tobs committed 6 errors in that game, making it 10 errors in the last 2 games and giving them back-to-back losses for the first time this season. However, there were some bright spots for the Tobs as John Allen threw 1 inning of scoreless relief, coming in after Michael Wilson, who threw 2 1/3, allowing just 1 unearned run. So the bullpen still doing a pretty nice job, with the exception, of course, of that game against the Asheboro Copperheads. Later on in this number 7 episode of Tobs Talk, we will have Michael Wilson, who is in a very good mood after that relief appearance, and because now he is on the official roster, that little shaky conditional has been stripped off of the roster for him, so he will be here all summer long and at the moment is pitching quite well for the Tobs. Also remember, folks, tonight is going to be the 75th anniversary of Fleming Stadium. We will be celebrating that tonight. Also, and probably maybe just a little bit more importantly for you folks here in Wilson, it is the 3rd annual Beer and Barbecue Festival. It's not going to be so much fun for me up in the press box because I won't be able to eat any of that wonderful North Carolina barbecue, but all you folks can. Gates will open at 5:30 for tonight's game, opening a half hour early. You can already smell the aroma here this morning at Fleming Stadium, and like I said, not so much fun for me, but make sure you come to the game, and it's going to be unlimited barbecue. $10 for just a game ticket and barbecue ticket. So if you like yourself some barbecue, and quite frankly, who doesn't, make sure you come on down to Fleming Stadium. Game time 7:05. Gates open at 5:30. The Tobs have a chance for revenge against the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs, losing last night 7-2. We'll see if the Tobs can rectify things here tonight and look to improve to 6-4. That will do it for this segment of Tobs Talk. When we come back, we will have head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay. All that and more when we come back right here on episode number 7 of Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris, right here on Greenlight Channel 2 and WIG TV Channel number 19. Welcome back, folks, to Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris. I'm Jake Donnelly. Thank you for tuning in. With me here right now is head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay. And Justin, the Tobs have lost back-to-back games for the first time this season. What do the Tobs have to do to turn things around?
I think, over the last week, we've become a completely different team. We've got 7 or 8 new guys in that are going to be essential to our success down the road. And we're just trying to find ourselves as a team again. We played the first week of the season with pretty much the same guys, 9 position players. They played every day. They had to gel extremely quick, and they did. Those guys are still with us, but they're wearing down because they're not used to playing every day. It's hot. It's a completely different dynamic than it is in the college season. So as I've started to move guys in and out, to allow them to get comfortable with the guys that are there, we've just seemed to kind of have lost a little bit of the feel for each other. And that happens with a new team. We're almost back to where we were at game 1 right now, a new team trying to find that chemistry. And that's going to be fixed within the next couple of days, I do believe. We saw some really good things last night, even though it didn't come out that way in the end. We still see a lot of positives. So for us, finding each other and finding that momentum is a big deal. And I think the thing that makes that really easy is playing in front of our home crowd, especially a big crowd like we're going to have tonight in front of the Beer and Barbecue Festival. I really feel like that helps this team gel. Playing in front of opposing crowds, it's not as fun. But when we come home to Wilson, we play at Fleming Stadium and it gets loud, I think it makes it a little more exciting. We play with a little more enthusiasm.
The Tobs have committed 10 errors in the last 2 games, but these are all high-quality guys that the Tobs have on the roster. Do you think it's just a case of the players are pressing right now?
Oh, I definitely think that. The guys that have made the errors, and it's been pretty much everybody at this point, has found a way to make one. I think they're just trying to do too much. They came in, they saw the guys playing in front of them, and they're playing and doing things that is not in their game. And we talked about it last night on the bus. This is the same game you've been playing since you're 5. Nothing's changed. The field might have changed, the size of the crowd might have changed, but the game is still the same. And when they settle down, they're going to be okay. These errors aren't something that's going to continue on down the road. They're trying to do too much right now.
We've been talking about how good the bullpen has been all season long. 2 nights ago, of course, really the first time this season that the bullpen did not pull their weight. But then the bullpen came back, and last night only allowed 1 run through 4 1/3 innings pitched. Michael Wilson, an unearned run, and he is now a full-time roster player. What have you seen from Wilson that made you decide, you know what, I need to keep this guy around for the entire summer?
Well, first of all, he throws strikes. He is very good at commanding 2 to 3 pitches in the zone, which is very, very important, both out of the bullpen and in the starting role, which he's done both for us this year. And I'm really not settled on where he'll be just yet, but he can do both those things because he does throw strikes. He's a guy that comes to the ballpark every day ready to play. I love what he brings to the clubhouse as far as you know what you're going to get. He's very consistent. He's been here 10 days now, and every day's been exactly the same. So when we find those type of guys, we like to keep them around, and that's why we signed him to a full contract.
Now, going from a guy who has been here the entire summer to a guy who showed up just a couple of days ago, John Allen, who came in after Michael Wilson, a lefty from Campbell University. I hadn't seen him throw yet. Now, before this spring at Campbell University, he was over the top. Since then, he's dropped down to sidearm. Last night in 1 inning, he struck out 2, and he looked terrific. Just some really filthy stuff.
Yeah, I think when he ran to the mound for the 8th, I turned to our assistant coaches, because they haven't seen him pitch either, and I said, watch how funky this is. And when he made his first pitch, I said, wow, that's kind of tough to hit, huh? I said, yeah, I hope so. He definitely, from a different arm angle, is going to be tough to hit. Now, he's a guy that comes in and hopefully just adds to the depth of the bullpen.
And the bullpen depth is something you've been raving about all summer long. Do you see him being used in more of a situational type because he's a left-handed sidearm, or do you see him just going full innings?
Right now, probably a little bit of both. I mean, I feel like because of his arm angle, even though he is sidearm, I feel like he can definitely be a situational guy with a lefty. But also we saw last night that right-handers have a tough time hitting him too. So we'll play that by ear, and as I get to know him and his abilities a little bit better, we'll make those decisions.
Now, you're also the pitching coach as well as the head coach. When a guy is a sidearm, is there anything really you can do knowing that you haven't thrown sidearm or something like that, or do you just ask around? How do you coach somebody who has a different arm angle?
Well, just through experience and working with guys, going to different camps and listening to guys who have taught it and just trying to get a feel from them. It's not extremely different than throwing over the top. There are a few changes, but the mechanics stay the same as far as arm positioning when the foot hits the ground and stuff like that. And he's comfortable with it, which is really good. So as long as he can stay comfortable, we'll be okay. But if he does start to struggle with his arm angle, then we just do the same thing we do with our over-the-top pitchers. We just try and get back the feel, because pitching is just repetition. It doesn't really matter how you do it as long as you can do the same thing every time identically.
All right, so another quality arm in the Tobs bullpen. Justin, thank you once again for coming on in here this morning. When we come back, we will have Elliott Smith from Thomas and Ferris, Attorneys at Law, right here on Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas and Ferris. Welcome back here, folks, to Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly. With me now is representative for Thomas & Ferris, who is the presenting sponsor of Tobs Talk, Elliott Smith. Elliott, thank you for coming in here today. Now, you have been with Thomas & Ferris for 20 years, but you didn't start off with the firm in North Carolina.
No, I did not. I started practicing law in North Carolina, but I worked for the Attorney General and then our local district attorney before I went in to work with the firm.
And there was a very specific reason why you ended up working with Thomas & Ferris.
Yes, marry the boss's daughter and you will have a job.
So that's actually pretty neat. So marry the boss's daughter, you will have a job. I'm not sure that Thomas & Ferris can offer many jobs like that. But there's also one other reason that you mentioned off air why it was very easy for you to get the job, technically the university you went to.
Well, everybody asks how I can be married into the family that I am. My father-in-law, my brother-in-law, my wife, they're all graduates of the University of North Carolina. I'm a graduate of Duke University. And I tell everybody when they ask, I only ask for 3 tickets every 2 years. I ask for 2 basketball games and 1 football game, and I think he likes not being hassled.
So is there a lot of water cooler talk in the Thomas & Ferris building?
It is very civil because both teams have dominated the other, so usually one of us is quiet and the other one is respectful.
Okay, so one is quiet, one is respectful. Clearly, who wins and who loses in that matchup, I take it? Well,
I tell you, my father-in-law is one of the most polite, deferential people to me. I'm scared to find out what he really thinks.
And I have to ask, what is a sports argument like between lawyers? Does anybody win?
I think we all sandbag, to be honest with you. I've got law partner from state. The big 3 is represented well in our office, and so there's a lot of good, healthy jabbing going on. But we do so much combat in our professional life that we try to keep the sports stuff light and happy.
Now, going to another type of sport, another sport in baseball, Thomas & Ferris has been an original sponsor of the Tobs since 1997. What does Thomas & Ferris mean with their partnership to the Tobs?
Well, I'm not sure what our firm means to the Tobs. I can tell you what the Tobs mean to us. We have always been about Wilson, and we feel that the Tobs organization and Fleming Stadium offer something to this community that is second to none, irreplaceable, one of a kind. You know, our crowds are not always 10,000 people. There are other places that we could advertise, but to be honest with you, I'm not sure any of us feel better than when someone comes up and says, thank you for your support of the Tobs. It is, you know, American, apple pie. I mean, it's what our country's all about, and Wilson's lucky to have the program, and we're glad to be one of the chief sponsors. It's all, look, without the other sponsors, it doesn't happen. But we like being the big dog. We like supporting the team, and we like supporting Fleming Stadium. And I will say this for the city of Wilson, without the city of Wilson's support, none of us would be here today. So it's really a good thing going.
Yeah, and tonight's game, a beer and barbecue festival, the 3rd annual beer and barbecue festival, that's going to bring some people out. I'm not going to enjoy it because I'm just going to be smelling the aroma the entire game, but I'm pretty sure you're going to make your way out there tonight.
You need to renegotiate your contract. This event is fabulous. As usual, the Tobs promotions are second to none. And so this particular promotion, I think we'll be talking about it when the junior partner in my firm comes and does this instead of me. We'll be talking about this in 10 and 20 years. It's really a great deal, and I would encourage everybody to come out. This is what your team is all about, and if you love baseball, you should be here anyway, but this is a great game to come to. Bring your family. It's a good time.
All right, well, Elliott, thank you for coming in, and thank you very much for doing my job. When we come back, we will have Michael Wilson, reliever for the Tobs, who has now been made a full-time roster player. All that and more when we come back right here on Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris. Welcome back, everybody, to Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris. I'm Jake Donnelly, and as promised, with me right now is reliever for the Tobs, Michael Wilson. Michael, before we get down to your performance last night, which was a pretty good one, how good does it feel to no longer be a conditional player and to know that you're here for the entire summer?
It feels awesome. It feels like a relief has been off my shoulders, and just feels good to know I'm going to be here all summer playing.
And I know before we got on air, you were talking about how your bags may or may not be packed right now.
Yeah, I got a suitcase that's maybe half full right now. So.
And you're from DeVille, Louisiana, not exactly close here to Wilson, North Carolina. But now that you're a full-time player, it's a little bit more comfortable, and even better, you're going to be pitching in front of some family at some point this summer.
Yeah, my mom and dad and sister are supposed to come up in July, so I'm excited for that. See what Fleming Stadium's all about.
Head coach Justin Hay of the Tobs has been ranting and raving about just how good you are and how comfortable he feels calling you out of the bullpen. He takes off the conditional mark, and last night you come into the game against the Swamp Dogs, and despite the fact that the Tobs were down, you at least kept them in the game, pitching 2 1/3 innings, 1 run. It was unearned. Was there any relief off of the shoulders? Was there a little bit less pressure knowing that maybe if you had a bad outing, you'd still be here after last night?
It was a little bit of relief, but still I just went out, had one mindset to do my job and throw strikes, and that's what I had on my mind to go out there and do.
So it really doesn't make a difference to you what's happening outside? You're just one of those guys, once you're inside the lines, that's all there is?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What is your favorite part right now about playing for the Tobs?
The atmosphere, because coming from an NAIA school, you get maybe 50 people at your games, but like last night the fans were rowdy, and I love that. It's just all the fans, it's awesome.
Is it safe to say that quieting an opposing crowd is something that you enjoy?
Yeah, it's awesome. I like that.
And did you set up batters? What do you do when you're on the mound that makes you so effective?
I just pound the zone. That's my game plan, pound the zone, get ahead, and if they hit it, I know I'm going to trust my defense behind me to catch it.
And coming from DeVille, Louisiana, and an NAIA school, how did you wind up here in Wilson?
Our center fielder for the Tobs last year was our center fielder at my school, and he helped recruit me here, I guess you could say.
Yeah, Ridge Gonsolin, an outfielder who was terrific for the Tobs last year, ended up recruiting you. It seems like we're pretty thankful for that right now. So Ridge doing some work for the Tobs even after he has left the organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I talked about right before we came on air, the hardest question I'm going to ask you right now, what is your favorite baseball memory?
Favorite baseball memory is probably winning the conference title this year, and we got to go to regionals, so that's probably my fondest memory so far.
And how did you help the team win that conference?
Pitching in relief, making a few spot starts, and just being a team player.
Yeah, all right. Well, Michael, thank you for joining me, and hopefully we'll have you back again this summer. As we now know, full-time roster player, no longer conditional. Michael, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
When we come back on Tobs Talk, we'll have the final segment here, and remember, it's the 3rd annual Beer and Barbecue Festival and also the 75th anniversary of Fleming Stadium. All that and more when we come back right here on Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris. Welcome back, everybody, here on Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly, and Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas & Ferris on Greenlight Channel 2, as well as WIG TV Channel 19. Well, the Tobs look for revenge against the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs tonight after losing 7-2 last night in Fayetteville. Tonight will also be the 75th anniversary of Fleming Stadium, as well as the 3rd annual Beer and Barbecue Festival. And in addition, folks, the first 500 fans will get these: a photo ball baseball, the Wilson Tobs logo presented by Thomas & Ferris, as well as Slugger, all that for the first 500 fans who come through the gates tonight against the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs. Game time is at 7:05, gates open at 5:30, an extra half hour earlier thanks to the Beer and Barbecue Festival. So folks, if you want one of these nifty little baseballs, you have to be one of the first 500 through the gates. Tonight's game, 7:05, gates open at 5:30. I'd like to say thank you to head coach Justin Hay, as well as Michael Wilson and Elliott Smith from Thomas & Ferris. Folks, we hope to see you tonight at Fleming Stadium. Game time 7:05, gates open at 5:30 for the 3rd annual Beer and Barbecue Festival. That will do it here on Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris. I'm Jake Donnelly. See you at Fleming.